Reparations are not only morally justifiable, but they have the potential to address long-standing racial disparities and inequality.
The equivocal number from the 1860s for 40 acres today is $200 million for each and every African American.
California Democrats applauding the move that takes them one step closer to giving more than $1 million to each Black resident, despite activists saying it's still not enough. GOP presidential candidate Larry Elder ran for governor of California, and he joins us now. Larry, we've been talking about this story all morning long. Is this for real? Could this really happen? Could they really give reparations to Black people in California?
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for having me. That's kind of the problem, isn't it? I ran for governor. I'm familiar with the state budget. It is $300 billion. This would be $600 billion, give or take, twice what the state budget is. There is a $20 billion deficit, and there's a $1.5 trillion, T as in Tyrannosaurus, $1.5 trillion unfunded pension liability. From where is the money going to come? They're going to have to tax people. And by the way, most people in California aren't even white. They're people of color, even if you accept the premise here. Now, reparations is the extraction of money from people who were never slave owners to be given to people who were never slaves. And California was admitted as a free state. So what the task force says is, doesn't matter. It's about mass incarceration, redlining, and over-policing.
Okay,
that allegedly explains a racial gap. Really? How do you explain then the fact that the Japanese Americans have a higher household income than whites do, even though in California there were laws that forbade Japanese from owning farmland? How do you explain the fact that Chinese Americans have a higher household income than do white Americans when there were laws in the Bay Area that forbade Chinese from participating in the laundry business? There are lots of people who are discriminated against. You want to assign the racial gap to all of that stuff? The real gap, Rachel, that they don't talk about is a fatherlessness gap.
Yes.
When I was a kid, virtually every one of my friends had a mother and a father in the home. Now that is rare. 70% of Black kids now enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother. You cannot tell me that there's more racism today than it was back in 1952 when I was born.
Yeah. No one wants to talk about fatherlessness. No one wants to talk about the government's complicity in encouraging these kinds of arrangements and the lack of family formation. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Really quick, what is the message that this sends to Black children in California?
It says that you are a victim, and this is all about buying votes. They don't care whether or not their money is there. What they want is for Black people to pull that lever for Democrats like lemmings, because after all, Democrats are more likely to support reparations than Republicans. One more thing, one more discrepancy, 75%, Rachel, of Black boys in California cannot read at grade proficiency. 85% of Blacks in California cannot do math at grade proficiency, even though we're spending more money K through 12 than ever before. We ought to be talking about those kinds of racial disparities, but they're not.
Yeah, amen to that. Okay, so Joe Biden has just tied his last year lowest approval rate, which was 36%. It crept up a little bit. He's now back to 36% approval, 56 disapprove. What do you make of this? And as somebody who just announced 2 weeks ago that you're running for president, what does this say for America?
And by the way, my website, elderforpresident.com, throw a little something in the tip jar. Help me get to the debate, which is in August in Milwaukee. What it says is that people feel hurt. Inflation is eating up wage growth. Gasoline prices are higher. People don't like what's going on with the borders. People feel that they're worse off than they were 2.5 years ago. It is that simple. And what I'm offering is an alternative. I think a lot of people love Donald Trump, but also fear that Donald Trump derangement syndrome is such that a lot of people would not vote for him if he walked on water. So if you like the America First agenda, you like the policies that gave us the strongest border probably in our history, but you want somebody who you think can get elected because of the swing voters that don't like Donald Trump, I'm your man.
Yeah. Well, Larry, there is competition on the right. There are people fighting and scrapping, although Donald Trump certainly has quite a large advantage. On the left, on the Democrat side, no debate. So I think that shows they're pretty satisfied with how things are going for them on the Democrat side. Well, anyway, Larry, great having you. Good luck with your race. We're going to be following it closely here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.